Hey guys, welcome to my book review channel. My name is Matt Balducci, and in this portion of my channel, I'm going to be reading 60 books in 2018. If you get a chance to review some of my other book reviews that are prior to this video, I've read, I think, close to 15 books up to this point. Super pumped about this goal that I have, and honestly, I've learned an unbelievable amount of things over the last 3 months. But the second goal of this channel, or portion of this channel, is to get more people to read books. And so I'm going to be reading, like I said, 60 different books. And my number one goal is to get people to read more. Reason being is that reading, you can develop way quicker, way faster. And I think a lot of people don't utilize the ability, which is free for most people. You can go to the library. If you want to spend money and buy books, that's great. But again, it's such a free resource, such a free entertainment, and also instead of spending $50,000 on college like I did, I think I spent actually over $100,000 on my college degree. You can actually go buy $10 books and get tons more quick information and learn from people that are experts in their industry. The book we're gonna cover right now is called Incognito by David Eagleman. Now, I really don't know much about David, to be honest. I didn't actually research him. I just actually took this book from a recommendation from Tom Bilyeu, which is the founder of Quest Nutrition, and he also runs Impact Theory, which is a YouTube channel, which I recommend you guys check out. But in this book, guys, it's actually a neuroscience book. It talks about brain plasticity. If you don't know what that is, it's basically the theory slash now it's scientifically proven that you can actually change the way your brain functions and works and how it views yourself, which I am a huge believer in, that you could ultimately redefine yourself and your narrative, who you are, all that kind of stuff. It takes time, but it takes a little bit of understanding how the brain works, and I think it's just a really cool functionality of it. If you want to know who David Eagleman is, Google him, check him out. He is an expert in this industry. He's actually a pretty young guy, but he's also a badass when it comes to what he wrote in this book. So I'm going to give you my top 3 takeaways. So number 1 takeaway, and I'm going to say it in layman's terms to make it easy. Again, read the book, get the science and all the scientific proof. And honestly, I took a ton from this book on how our brain functions, but our brain actually wants us to not have to think as much as we do. So what it wants different things in our life to become is unconscious. And so what you're gonna discover is when you have to think about something, it actually requires mental energy. So he uses the example, which I think is just a perfect example of when you first learned how to drive your car, right? How much mental energy did it take doing every single detail? Sitting down in the chair, making sure the seat was right, you had your seat belt on, you had your hands on the 12 and the 4 o'clock or whatever the position is, right? You had to check your mirrors, make sure those are good. Then you had to like double check what foot to use, and that happened over and over again. But eventually now, when you hop in your car, all those different tasks, even when you start driving and you have to like check your mirror to make sure you don't hit someone and all that, now you hop in your car, you turn on your car, and boom, you're off to the races. Reason is, it's 1, become a habit, but 2, your brain actually does not want to have to think, which is awesome for us, and here's why. Because if you want to improve your life or create a habit or do whatever you're talking about, which for myself is becoming a bodybuilder, which meant that I had to completely change the way I thought about health and fitness, as well as how I thought about my physique. I never have had a 6-pack in my life. Currently, I have one, which is pretty cool. Never in my 30 years did I have one prior to now, and all I did was constantly talk about it over and over again, and we'll talk about that in another book. But again, what David's talking about, guys, is that the brain wants us to actually be good at stuff so we don't have to think. So you can take a Major League Baseball player and they hit a freaking 100-mile-an-hour fastball and hit a home run. How the heck do they do it? It's because it's unconscious. They don't have to think. You hear the term muscle memory, stuff like that. Everything we do in life is a habit, and you want your habits to become muscle memory. So how do you do that? You have to understand the habit loop, which it takes up to 66 to 100 days to create a habit to make it unconscious. And that's how, as a high performance coach, that's what I do with all my clients, is I basically take whatever they're trying to improve on, whether it's weight loss, getting in shape, all of that kind of stuff. And what I'm trying to accomplish with them is I'm trying my best to basically make sure they understand that we want to get it to where it's unconscious. All right, takeaway number 2. We are actually not conscious most of the time. So isn't that crazy to think for a second? Because we think we're super conscious. We think we see everything around us. But realistically, we are not conscious. And again, like takeaway number 1, our brain does not want to be conscious. It actually wants us to not have to think and use our mental energy. Reason is we are evolving. And ultimately what our brain really wants to do is get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? And the reason is that it wants to not have to be used as much. And so I thought that was really, really cool. And once you understand that you're actually not really conscious of everything that's going around you, right? When you think you're super conscious of everything, you're actually not conscious of most things in your life until somebody points it out or until you turn your brain on. Which again, it was awesome in the book. He talks about if you're playing tennis against somebody, all you have to do is just say, hey, I think you should change this one thing in your shot. And what happens is it actually triggers that person and to start thinking about their shot. So if you ever take let's say a pro basketball player and people are yelling and screaming and they're about to shoot the game-winning free throw and they make it. Why are they able to do it? It's because they shot hundreds of thousands of free throws and it's unconscious. They do their normal thing, boom. But if they think about it, that's when they miss. Right? And you can start looking into your life right now and see that there's many parts of it that have that happen. So that's my takeaway number 2. Takeaway number 3, which I mentioned in the very beginning of this, is brain plasticity. So I want to dive into that a little bit more. Now, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a neuro doctor, right? There's no such thing as a neuro doctor, right? Neurosurgeon, brain surgeon, whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, what I want you guys to really pinpoint here, guys, is that you can change your everything, right? By just understanding how your brain works. So here's how I change anything with the clients I work with myself. I wanted to become a bodybuilder. I was actually 27% body fat less than a year ago, and I was about 45 pounds heavier than I am currently. Now, still not necessarily where I need to be, but I'm progressing there, which is really cool. Even when I was that weight, guess what I started telling myself every day? I'm a bodybuilder, I'm a bodybuilder, I'm a bodybuilder. Now, I had to have a big why. Why am I trying to be a bodybuilder? Which, if you listen to my last book review, which is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And then you have to then take it and actually break it into smaller pieces. But here's the cool part. Once you understand that part of your brain, that whatever you say, and I know you sound self-helpy and klitschky and all that kind of stuff, but it works. People say it all the time, speak things into existence, speak things into existence. Now, obviously you can't be like, hey, I want to be a car, I want to be a car. But what you can do is you can actually change yourself to whatever you want. So if you want to wake up early in the morning, which by the way is what I'm doing now, I used to not be able to wake up in the morning. Reason is I used to tell people I'm not a morning person. But I changed that. Now, I had to do a couple other tricks and tips and things like that I learned, by the way, from other things. But ultimately, I wake up at 5 a.m. every single morning now. Why? And I wake up with energy and excitement. Why? Because I tell everybody that I wake up at 5 a.m., right? And I changed my brain plasticity around waking up early. Now, there's a lot of, obviously, benefits of waking up early and all that kind of stuff, and I had a why behind it, etc., and so forth. But I love the idea of brain plasticity because that means that you can become whatever you want. Like Tom Bilyeu talks about in impact theory, you can basically acquire any skill you like. If you want to learn how to be a tech wizard, right, or run a tech company, all you have to do is become that and put all of your focus into it, right? Just like me becoming a bodybuilder, I've been able to lift weights. I was an athlete, all those different things, and I just got out of crazy shape for whatever reason. And all it took, guys, was me to basically sit there and tell myself that I was, and change the way my brain works. So when I talk to people now and they ask me what I do, I say I'm a bodybuilder. Right now, obviously, I run a multi-million-dollar construction company, and I'm a high-performance coach, all those other things. But when people ask me, I say that. And sometimes people go, Matt, you're kind of small for a bodybuilder. And I go, yeah, but in 6 months, I won't be. Right? And the reason is that that's the trajectory I want to go. So again, guys, I want to recap. Make sure you subscribe below. Comment below, guys, if this helped you out. Please go pick this book up. If you want to understand how your freaking brain works, you have to study it, okay? I can't tell you enough, but these are my top 3 takeaways. Number 1 is your brain wants you to be good at things because the better you are, right? The better you are, the less it has to think. Number 2, right, is we're not conscious most of the time, which was actually eye-opening to me because I thought we were, but we're not, right? And it's crazy until somebody points something out, we're not really conscious of it. And then last but not least is brain plasticity, which I believe is just unbelievable once you start learning it. And you can become whoever the heck you want, right? If you want to be a millionaire, become a dang millionaire, right? And the cool part is once you start saying it out loud and doing it, your body is actually gonna start taking the things that it needs to do to become a bodybuilder. For me, it's not difficult to eat the same foods every single day. It's not easy. I used to eat ice cream and cookies all the time. It's easy for me not to eat those anymore. I don't crave them at all, right? Now, again, that's just one example. But when I work with my high performance coaching clients, this is how I get them guys to really have the success they want. It takes about 100 days, in my opinion, and also science, to build a habit. But really, it takes about 100 days to make it unconscious. So good luck. Read this book. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.